1949'dan beri bu evde yaşıyorum. 50 sene geçti. Şimdi burası müze oldu. Müzemize hoş geldin.
Sakıp Sabancı önemli bir koleksiyonerdi. Büyük de hayalleri vardı. Bunun için aile evini müzeye dönüştürmek gibi zor bir kararı bile almaktan çekinmedi.
Sakıp Sabancı'nın vizyonu hem eğitim hem de iş hayatımda bana çok önemli katkılar sağladı. Kendisine duyduğum en büyük hayranlık onun eğitime olan inancı ve teknolojiye olan ilgisi üzerine olmuştur. Çocuklar, rötarlı olmamak lazım bu işlerde derdi.
Bizlere tek kalan miras Sakıp Sabancı'nın kurduğu şirketler ve yaptığı yatırımlar değil. Onun vizyonu, fikirleri. Bizler çalıştık, çalıştık, çalıştık.
İyi ki çalıştım. Keşke daha çok çalışsaydım. Daha güzel Türkiye, daha başarılı Türkiye.
Düşünceleriyle yarınımızı aydınlatmaya devam eden Sakıp Sabancı'yı aramızdan ayrılışının 20. yılında sevgi ve hasretle anıyoruz.
Kıymetli devlet büyüklerimiz, değerli konuklar, Sakıp Sabancı Uluslararası Araştırma Ödülleri ve 20. yıl anma törenimize hoş geldiniz.
Welcome all to our 20th anniversary and International Research Awards. I am a senior student at Sabancı University, distinguished business person and honorary president of Sabancı University. Mr. Sakıp Sabancı passed away 20 years ago, and it is my pleasure to be the moderator and facilitator for the 20th anniversary commemoration ceremony. As we commemorate late Mr. Sabancı, we have you as our guests, and we have the participation of distinguished scientists. In order to present the inaugural speech of the ceremony, I would kindly like to invite Ms. Güler Sabancı, Chairperson of Board of Trustees at Sabancı University. Welcome, welcome all. I know many more friends are still on their way coming here to join us, including our governor, distinguished mayor of metropolitan city of Istanbul, distinguished colleagues, distinguished presidents are here, the president of TÜBİTAK is with us, and you are here. We are all here to commemorate late Mr. Sabancı. Distinguished family and friends of late Sakıp Sabancı. Our faculty members are here, colleagues are here, students are here. This is such a meaningful occasion, and it is our pleasure to be together with you. We're grateful to have you. On behalf of Sabancı Group, I would like to thank each and every one of you. I would like to greet you all cordially as I start on, and I would like to refer to our leader who has made Sabancı Group to this day. Late Sakıp Sabancı passed away 20 years ago. We wanted to do our best in order to commemorate him on this occasion. Today is extremely significant, extremely meaningful. Mr. Sakıp Sabancı loved each and every member of the society. He loved them all. He always had an attitude exempt from prejudice, and he was always constructive, and he always attached great importance to unity and joint efforts to create and produce. He was in love with Turkey, and he always worked hard, extremely hard, in order to ensure that Turkey reached a higher level of development. He always defined himself as someone who loved his country very much and who worked for the good of his country. And now our mission is to make sure that we make his ideas and values and assets live and we transfer them to new generations to come. So we are doing our best to commemorate him as he wanted, as he desired. We are doing this with social sciences, with people, with the society, with scientific research. For Sakıp Sabancı, Sabancı University always had a privileged place, and as he passed away, our university was only 5 years old. And today, our university is 25 years old. We are still a young organization at the age of 25. And throughout these years, we have graduated 11,000 plus undergraduate students, and the number of graduates from PhD programs and master's programs reached 6,000 plus. And we have undertaken a great example of collaboration between the so be it his understanding for education and training and academia, we attach great importance to research, scientific research and academic research. And Sabancı University, as Sabancı University, we are trying to realize many things for the first time in this country. Sabancı University achieved so many things, and international research awards is again first time practice in the area of social sciences. We are offering international research awards. This is the one and only social sciences awards program, and with the legacy of Sakıp Sabancı, we have formed a fund, and this is how we have started with International Research Awards. The main purpose of International Research Awards to ensure that in the area of training, education and academic work, we always support the scientists and academics. And Sakıp Sabancı always wanted to have an international perspective, and this is why we continue in the same respect. And it is our main mission. The social sciences should never be left behind. We believe in this cause. People and societies and communities have always been important for Sakıp Sabancı. That's why he attached importance to this award program. So far, from economy to sociology, from Turkish and Islamic arts to Turkish history, we have offered support, and we have provided support to tens of young researchers and scientists. This award continues to support these prominent figures and will continue to do so. And this year, as we commemorate his 20th anniversary of his passing, we decided to organize a special panel discussion during the ceremony so that we will have a chance to host the distinguished winners of jury special awards with whom we were unable to come together during the pandemic. We wanted to host them in Turkey, and in line with the principles of Sabancı University, we wanted to offer a chance for multidisciplinary sharing of ideas and know-how. I would especially like to extend my thanks to the distinguished scientists who have kindly accepted our invitation to join us during the panel discussion. Dear friends of Sabancı, Lord Nicholas Stern, Susan Miche, and Philip Petit. We would like to thank the distinguished scientists for being with us and for accepting our invitation to join our panel discussion. Our award process has been led by Sevil Sabancı and Melissa Tapan, who has recently joined us. And continuous support has been provided by Dr. Dilek Sabancı, and even if she is not with us this evening, she's always in our hearts, Ms. Türkan Sabancı. I also would like to extend my thanks to our president of the university, Mr. Yusuf Leblebici, our Secretary General Ali Çalışkan, the Vice President of our university, Fuat Keyman, and Istanbul Policy Center, which is an important contributor to our awards program. I also would like to extend my thanks to the distinguished professors, and word of special thanks goes to all the award winners, all the nominees, and who have undertaken significant scientific work so far within the context of this program. I would once again like to extend my thanks and gratitude. Like it is the case each year, next year we will of course continue with our awards program. Rahmi Bey, welcome. You have come a long way. Thank you for being with us. I can imagine. Welcome, sir. I'm sorry for the interruption. No. Now that we have you here, I was just about to mention next year's awards program. Next year's award will be offered to young scientists again, as I've said. And on this occasion, next year's theme, I would like to now disclose. 2025 Sakıp Sabancı International Research Award will have the following theme: redesign of values in the transformational world. What should be preserved, what should be reused and reassessed, and what should be redefined. We are going to focus on this big question. The research award will be offered to the young participants for next year. Applicants for this award, I would like to wish all the best and best of luck to the candidates in advance. As you know, Sabancı University is the biggest reflection of Mr. Sakıp Sabancı's faith in science, technology, education and the youth. As our university was inaugurated back in 1999, he had said that we are a bit late, but still we will turn this into an advantage. We will make sure that we utilize state-of-the-art technologies and the most advanced ideas in order to contribute to the academic work. He has proven right, and today our university is ranked among the most successful universities of the world, and we have thus fulfilled his vision. As our university is getting prepared to celebrate its 25th anniversary, we are confident that our university continues to offer the chance to co-create and co-develop to young people, and this is thanks to the innovative perspective of our university and to the academic freedoms and liberties we offer at our university. We have this inclusive understanding, and we always offer a chance for common mind and values with a participatory understanding. Atatürk once said that my moral heritage is science and intelligence, and this is the motto that we have at our university's campus in Tuzla. This is in line with all the research that we conduct with state-of-the-art technologies and with innovative research. We will be witnessing such an event this evening. You may hear the details about this from the dear grandchild of Melisa Sabancı Tapan, who will be with us, who has joined us at the Board of Trustees this year. With dear Melisa and with the contribution of other young people such as Melisa, we are happy to share these values and assets with you, and it is a source of pride. I would once again like to thank each and every one of you for coming and being with us on this special occasion. And now I'd like to kindly invite dear Melisa to the stage. She is going to share with us a technological surprise development for you. Once again, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you and would like to greet you all. It's so great to have you. Thank you.
I would like to thank Güler Hanım, distinguished representatives of the academic world, my dear family, close friends of my late grandpa Sakıp Sabancı, distinguished guests, members of the press. I'm sorry, I'm very, very excited. Those of you who are watching our ceremony online, Honorary President of Sabancı University, it's the 20th anniversary of his passing, late Sakıp Sabancı. Thank you very much to all of you for not leaving us alone on this occasion. I can see once again how the life of my late grandpa Sakıp Sabancı has touched many lives. That makes me so proud. While remembering him, what he's been representing, and how he has inspired the generations that come after him, it would be good to remember those briefly. Sakıp Sabancı, independent of age and social status, could establish strong connections with everyone. He was a special human being. He would translate into a common language all different perspectives and explain those to all of us. He was open-minded, sincere, and honest. As his granddaughter, some questions have been on my mind that I would like to share with you this evening. The moral values that a human being constructs throughout his life, how can these be communicated from generation to generation? He has departed a long time ago, but how can he contribute to the collective consciousness? How can his worldview be shared? In the conveyance of values and knowledge, we should be in search of new methods. Sakıp Sabancı's life has shown us that with the values of thoughts of one human being, how he can overcome his own time and become part of the greater collective. It shows us that. He believed that each and every one of us could enhance the collective consciousness and create huge impact. This evening, all together, we are going to be looking closely at Sakıp Sabancı's values, consciousness, and vision, and we want to discover the ongoing impact of his views on our future, because we believe that real development, if you put it on past values, you can enhance it with innovations. Sakıp Sabancı's vision, how can we carry it to this day? How can we find solutions to today's problems? And how can we benefit from his visionary perspective? We departed with this question, and we decided to benefit from human intelligence and artificial intelligence. As such, on the 20th anniversary of his passing, he will be with us with his ideas and what he has represented, even though he may not be with us physically. We believe that it would be best to remember him with his own ideas. And in line with his recommendations on technology, we followed a science-based approach. Two steps here. First step, Sakıp Sabancı's vision, guiding the future in our globalizing world, trends, risks, and opportunities. With this panel, and with the winners of his special award, we're going to be discovering how these echoes in the world of today. His mind, his know-how, the way he thinks, and most importantly, his vision. This is what we would like to bring to the present. And we have developed AI models as a special step towards this. This model has been formed from the archives, videos, texts, books, and sound recordings of Sakıp Sabancı. And it was designed to reflect very closely his thoughts as best as possible, I'd like to underline. However, on this journey, as far as I know, it has been a first in Turkey. A personality, somebody who has lived. His consciousness and his thoughts, we aimed to reflect these very closely. That's the model that we developed. And I would like to share with you this AI model with your permission. If my dear grandpa Sakıp Sabancı had been among us today, there are some questions I would have liked to ask him. So, some of these I'm going to ask to the advanced technology robot. Let's start and let's see. Dear Grandpa, today we want to remember you, remember your vision, love, inspiration. We would like to share that with your loved ones. We're here because of that. What words would you like to leave us with? Dear family, distinguished members of our state, my colleagues, and beautiful people of this nation. My granddaughter Melissa, asking this question as my granddaughter and being able to address you thanks to this technology is an incredible feeling. I could never imagine that I would be witnessing this. Time with you has been a great source of honor and happiness for me. Dilek and Sibyl, you and my other daughters. It's thanks to you that Sabancı Holding is where it is today. You have all separately made the roots of this company robust. Our adventure is not just doing business. On the other hand, we want to contribute to this beautiful country, our society, and this moment is an opportunity to share our hopes for the future. My dear granddaughter Melissa, our statespeople, our colleagues, everybody all over this nation, here's what I'd like to say. Our biggest wealth is the love we have for one another, our unity, and our togetherness. Remember, I always said we're stronger together. With your heart and your wisdom advanced along this road in this beautiful meeting. While remembering our past memories, we should grow our hopes for the future together. This nation would be greener. The soil will be greener with you young people. It's not possible to express to you or to our guests the inspiration and excitement I feel with your words. Dear Grandpa, thank you for this sharing. And yes, I agree, we're stronger together. The Turkish nation is stronger together. Dear Grandpa, since your time, the world has changed rapidly. Social media to the spreading of knowledge, to the rise of technological giants, there have been deeply rooted transformations that cover the entire world population. And yes, with AI technology, we're trying to understand minds such as yours in this fast changing world, reaching the thoughts of a pioneer like you. This gives us inspiration and power. Now, with your permission, in this changing world, the secrets of remaining resilient, please share those with us. In spite of all the challenges and pain you have experienced, you are always hopeful, joyful, and self-confident. You never lost the child within you. Pandemics, natural disasters, economic crises, social changes. In this world filled with those challenges, you please tell us how we can remain resilient without losing our joy and hope. Soon, Sakıp Sabancı's vision will talk about trends, risks, and opportunities in the panel soon. In our journey to the future, how can we be more prepared? How can we be more resilient? My dear granddaughter, come sit beside me and I'm going to tell you something. This world is temporary, full of challenges, but I told you, remember, in order to overcome every challenge, you have to find the strength within you. How? Now, listen to me then. Look, first of all, everything starts with being joyful, cheerful. Whatever I have seen in life, here's the perspective I evaluated from. This too shall pass. Every challenge, in fact, teaches us something. For this, you have to be cheerful and positive. You have to be full of gratitude, and you have to believe. Later on, the essence of everything is this: family, friend, love. I mean, these are things you have to have. Even in the darkest of days, the hand of a friend, the love of family makes people feel better. Spend time with them, my great dear granddaughter. Know their worth. Reading, learning, knowledge. This world is always changing, but you are going to be developing yourself as well. You will always remain a student. You'll learn new things so that in this changing world, you may survive. And most importantly, now, the child within you, let him live. Play games, make jokes, don't forget to laugh. And always be curious about the world. Now, dear child, surviving in this world, being resilient is something like this. No matter what the challenge, never lose your hope and your joy. With joy, with cheer, live your life, live this brief life to the fullest. I wish you were with us. I wish he were with us. I am hard-pressed to speak right now. If you were with us today, what recommendations would you have for us? And we're gonna, within the framework of the themes of the panel, important trends, opportunities, and risks, if you were to address those, what would you have recommended? Ah, Melissa, my dear granddaughter, this special day has brought all of us together. While we're at it, distinguished speakers who have received the Sakıp Sabancı Award, listening to them is really a great honor and happiness. When I think of the globalizing world, I say, oh my God, how small the world has gotten, but our heart has grown so much. How wonderful, how wonderful. And what would we say? The world will get smaller and smaller, but our friendships, our love will always grow. If in 2024 I were with you, together with you now, I would say to all of you, come on, let's have a look what the coming years are going to bring. My first thing is to delve into this technological world and try to see how we could adapt these to our businesses. Following that, how we can take better care of our soil and our water. Now that's important for me. Sustainability in today's language, and good neighborhood relations, and protection of the environment. Same thing, really. Those were in my day. This is what we called those. Yes, in 2024, if I were with you, I would be pursuing new opportunities full throttle. You know me. Stalling is not for us. I would shout that we will do it, as I have always said. Our biggest power is our unity. And about the future, I'm curious about what the speakers will say, but I'm saying to myself, risks. Yes, risks. There's an opportunity in every risk, an opportunity. Dear friends, don't forget. Although the road may be challenging, we should always smile, we should always have hope in our hearts. I love all of you very much. And we love you very much. Distinguished guests, technology has advanced, no doubt, and as my grandpa Sakıp Sabancı has emphasized, keeping up with this technology has vital importance. However, we should never forget that technology is only a vehicle, and how and with what purpose it is used is equally important. The data used here are human-focused, and all of these are based on the data that we provide. AI technology, which presents us with this opportunity, has limited understanding, and it's not the copy of real consciousness. Let's not forget that. Now, exactly because of this, late Sakıp Sabancı, the way he thinks and his values, focusing on those, will make us understand his values and thoughts better. If we have been able to develop this AI vehicle now, it is a reflection of the visionary character of Sakıp Sabancı. His soul that loved to share ensures that we share his physically permanent legacy, but on the other hand, it helps us design his thoughts in the closest way. And it has made it possible for us to lay the foundations of such an AI model. If you'd like to contribute to this model, you distinguished guests, we have an area in the foyer. I invite you to share your memories with Sakıp Sabancı. When it comes to those listening to us online, you may send your memories as voicemail in the email address that you will see on the screen, and you will contribute to the training of our AI model if you do this. And to bring all of that together and share it with you, we want to do it as soon as possible. Right after this, Sakıp Sabancı's vision guiding the future in the globalizing world, trends, risks, and opportunities is the panel we're going to have. In light of my grandpa's values, we're going to try to look for innovative solutions to today's world and challenges. Just like Sakıp Sabancı, we also are temporary in this changing world. The important thing is to leave our footprints on robust foundations. You distinguished guests, thank you very much for not leaving us alone on this special day. And I hope for an inspiring panel. Thank you.
His distinguished wife has just joined. Welcome. We would like to thank Ms. Güler Sabancı and Ms. Melisa Sabancı Tapan. Distinguished guests, this is the first, the one and only international awards program granted in the area of social sciences in Turkey, from economy to politics, from history to social developments. This award has been granted to various scientists with authentic work, both in Turkey and in the world. And this year, we are hosting a special panel discussion. The title is Sakıp Sabancı's Vision, Moving to the Future from Our Globalizing World, Trends, Risks and Opportunities. Before we start with our panel discussion, we'd like to kindly invite you to watch the special video on Lord Nicholas Stern, Ms. Susan Michie and Mr. Philip Petty. Enjoy the video.
What Nick has done that is different from many others is to choose a path of presenting climate change as an opportunity, not only as a risk. There are so many who have built a strong standing of defining the tragedies of the commons and what may happen to the world unless we act. But it is Nick who added a much needed dimension of the tremendous opportunity of transforming our economies to be low carbon and climate resilient, create jobs and give a new impetus to the world economy through it.
I think that awards give signals. Awards give signals to young people about what matters and about what's important. And I think in this case, there's nothing more important than climate change and working on economic policy around climate change. So I hope it gives strong signals to young people that this is an area of great importance. I was just greatly honoured that the award came to me this year, and particularly in the 20th important anniversary for Sabancı University. I was absolutely delighted.
So I think what Professor Mickey has achieved, she's raised the profile of behavioural science within a policy context. So she's been an advisor to governments on many different topics. She's led a government-funded research unit informing policy, and most recently for COVID-19, she sat on the behavioural science subgroup of SAGE, the UK government's main advisory body, and also independent SAGE.
When I heard about this award, first of all, I was extraordinarily surprised and extremely honoured to have been awarded it. But also, I was absolutely delighted to find out about the existence of such an award. It really says something for the imagination and the wisdom of those people who made the decision to begin with to have this award and to keep it going with such imagination, as indeed I think this film shows, to ask interesting questions and interview people from different angles to think about why do people get involved in social science? How can it be used and useful in society? And how is it that we can persuade the wider world that this is at the heart of solving so many global problems?
Our guest today is Philip Pettit, who is the L.S. Rockefeller University Professor of Politics and Human Values at Princeton and Distinguished Professor of Philosophy at the Australian National University.
People have a very different sort of culture. There's a culture of distrust and worry because you never know if there's somebody around who overhears you, you know. It worries me that younger people today often don't realize just how terrifying it is, the thought of living under a rule where the authorities can really do almost what they like. I think it is incredibly important to have social science operating all of the time on what's happening in different areas. And they need to be supported through the universities, which is where they're based. And, you know, we need governments to recognize that it's not all about the STEM sciences, you know, it's not all about technology. You're going to have an inadequate society unless you've got a society in which you get this active social science always going on, connecting what's happening in that society with elsewhere, looking out for the positive developments that may indicate new policy initiatives and so on. So for me, that's really quite important that both the social sciences and philosophy and the wider humanities should remain alive and vibrant in our societies.
Panelimiz
Our panel discussion is going to be moderated by Professor Meltem Müftüler-Baç, who is the Dean of Arts and Social Sciences School at Sabancı University. I would kindly like to invite Lord Nicholas Stern, Susan Mickey, and Philip Pettit. The floor is yours.
Dear Sabancı family, esteemed guests, my dear colleagues who are in the audience, dear students, it's an honor to be here to welcome you to this wonderful meeting where we'll be commemorating our late Sakıp Sabancı, the founder of our university. I'll just say a few words before we pass on to the panel. Sakıp Sabancı was a very visionary person who actually has given significant support to social sciences, to humanities, to academic freedoms, which currently, at the current juncture that we are now passing through, is proving to be very timely and very visionary at the very same time. Before I pass on to the panel with our wonderful guests, I'd like to take you 5 years back to this exact room, to this exact building, on April 10, 2019. April 10 is Sakıp Sabancı's death anniversary, where I was in the same position, at this exact same spot then, when we were giving the Sakıp Sabancı Award again. To that time, in the field of global governance, the recipient of the award in 2019 was Joseph Nye from Harvard University. We are all colleagues with him. None of us that night could have predicted what could have happened or what was around the corner. The global pandemic that led to the closure of the borders, economic recession that followed immediately, the hot war that we are now going through on European soil for the first time since 1945 in this magnitude, another war right next to our borders, and now turmoil in American universities, which I'm sure some of you are already following. So that's, in a 5 years time, we were not able to have this ceremony physically. So all our awardees, we were able to have it only online. And now, while we are here together physically, I think we all share this common experience that the fragile environment of our existence and the looming uncertainty that comes with it is making us question the very basis of the future vision that our founders has already provided you with, but it also brings a set of relevant questions. Melisa Hanım have already indicated that we'll be talking about trans risks, opportunities. I think these risks have never been greater. Sure, we always had global challenges, but now the global challenges that we are going through right now are unprecedented precisely because of the technological changes. Well, a portion of that you just witnessed with Melisa Hanım's individual conversation with her grandfather. Those challenges are both significant, but they're also scary to a large extent. At least they scare me. Therefore, our panel is timely, relevant, and critical. You've already watched the videos for our awardees. I'll go with the chronological order with them. Lord Stern is the awardee in 2020 in economics and with his work on climate change. Professor Susan Mickey, 2021, with her work on behavioral change, psychological well-being, mental health, especially in the field of epidemics. And Philip Pettit in 2023, which is just last year, and we couldn't have the physical ceremony right after the earthquake, on the field of philosophy and his work on republicanism. So it's a great honor for me to be able to host this panel. I will go with the chronological order of our awardees with same sets of questions that revolve around risks, trends, and opportunities. But I will start first with Lord Stern. His work on climate change as a market failure, basically, as an economic externality, has altered the way we think about the linkages between markets, economic development, and climate change. So, Lord Stern, how do you find, when you look towards the future, both the trends, risks with regards to climate change, how do you think the distribution of resources between the haves and have-nots, between the rich and poor, are being altered with climate change? And what kind of trade-offs do you think that are, that are in front of us in the field of sustainable development with climate change, poverty reduction, reducing inequalities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me begin by saying what a great honor it is to have been one of the people to have been awarded these very special awards, the International Sabancı Awards. And I'd like to thank Guilherme, Melissa, and the whole Sabancı family for this great honor, and everyone who is involved. I'd also like very quickly to, but importantly, to mention my dear friend, Kemal Dervish, friend of 30 or 40 years, a great leader of the world, great leader of Turkey, who we very sadly lost in this period. So we were asked about trends. I'm going to give you 9, but only in headline form because of the pressures of time. First, climate change and biodiversity. Second, pandemics. I'm sure that Susan will have something to say. And third, war. I'll go into climate change in a little bit more detail. But as you remarked very so clearly, we now face real wars taking place and increased probability of wars in the future, including possibly the United States and China, including possibly Israel and Iran, though the world has become a more dangerous place in terms of those probabilities. So 3 big areas that are threats, major threats to human life. We have 3 trends which I would like to identify around socio-economic issues. Demography is going to be very powerful determinant. We have big societies, whether it's from China to Europe, which are aging very rapidly. We have very rapid population growth in Africa. We have in India, even though the birth rate has dropped very sharply, we have more and more young people coming onto the labour market, and that will go on for a while. So the demography side will be a real challenge. We have threats to democracy and social cohesion, increasing inequality in many countries of the world. I'm sure my dear friend Philip will have something to say about that. And we have economic crises, which we've seen particularly in the global financial crisis, but much more than that, and major parts of the world subject to debt crises. So those are 3 socio-economic trends. Let's be slightly more optimistic now and point to 3 positive trends which are going to help us a great deal. Artificial intelligence, digitization, technology. Think of the importance of what's happened in India with the digitization of people's records, and Aadhaar enables all kinds of delivery. So medical science, of course, Susan has something to say here, and education, including education of girls, which is increased, particularly in India, in a country I know well, but much more beyond. These threats or opportunities are interwoven. Climate change makes pandemics more likely, changes the interactions between human and animals and amongst within those groups. Climate change makes war more likely because we are likely to see many people on the move, hundreds of millions probably on the move, and that will create all kinds of risks of conflict. A lot of these crises are our own making. The market fundamentalism of the 80s and 90s cast a real shadow into this century. It made the global financial crisis more likely. It increased inequality, and of course it moved environment right down the list and accentuated those challenges. A lot of these problems are our own making with bad social science. What are the specific risks? Well, I haven't got time to go into detail on climate, of course, but I've already mentioned that hundreds of millions would have to move. We haven't seen 3 degrees centigrade where we're headed for 3 million years. Homo sapiens has been here for perhaps 300,000 years. Right? That is the kind of risk we run. At that time, when we were 3 degrees 3 million years ago, sea levels were 10 to 20 meters higher than now. Closer to home, southern Europe, including this part of the world, would likely look like the Sahara Desert. Those are the kinds of risks that we run. So we have to tackle those, we can tackle those, and it will be good policy, good social science, I hope, that helps us handle those. So let me turn to my last part of what I have to say. How do we deal with the risks? Well, we follow in the footsteps of Sakıp Sabancı, and we turn those risks into opportunities. We have in our hands the growth and development story of the 21st century. Sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. But we have to invest a lot to get there, and probably an extra 2 or 3 percentage points of GDP across the world stage, probably 2% or so in the rich countries, 3, 4, 5% in the poor countries. That would take us back to investment rates that we were seeing in the world 20 years ago. Perfectly possible to do that, but it means strong policy. It means clarity for investors, particularly because most of that investment will be in the private sector. So governments have to send the right signals, and they have to send stable signals because these are long-term investments over 20 or 30 years. There have to be signals in which the environment is at center stage. They can be prices, like a price of carbon, or they can be regulations and standards that you can't sell internal combustion vehicles after a certain date, 2035 currently in the UK, similar figure in India. Those are the kinds of policies that we have to bring to bear. But think what you get. You get investments which are in the most exciting and innovatory part of our economy. The cost of the clean is cheaper than the dirty already, over about 1/3 of emissions. In 6 or 7 years' time from now, that will be true over 2/3 of emissions. So investing in the clean is raising productivity in that sense. Cities where you can move and breathe are much more productive, surely, and much happier places to live in. I'm sure, Mr. Mayor, this is very much on your mind the whole time. But cities where you can move and breathe, ecosystems which are robust and fruitful. Much more greater resource efficiency, for example, in the circular economy. Efficiency is productivity is growth. This is an enormous opportunity. If we stop poisoning people through air pollution, of course, that has great value in its own right, but they're also a more productive economy. The systems that we have to change, cities, energy, transport, climate, if we do that well, cities, energy, transport, water, land, there are enormous opportunities there. So we can do this, and it will be good social science that takes us there. I'm enormously optimistic about what we can do. I'm deeply worried about what we will do. But our job as social scientists, our job as people, is to turn what's possible into what can really happen. It is turn the optimism about what we can do into overcoming those obstacles and the reality of what we will do. Thank you.
Professor Mickey, so we'll turn to you.
Thank you.
As we discussed, in terms of global challenges, trans risks, and opportunities, but I also like to hear your views on the connection between health and well-being, specifically with regards to the impact of the global pandemic that we just passed through. How did it change the human condition? And what do you think is possible for the upcoming technological changes, the new resources that we have at hand, that we can deal with the possible emerging threats of a similar nature in the future? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you not only for giving me the award, thank you to all those who were part of it, but also thank you for inviting myself and fellow awardees back in person to be with you tonight. It's 50 years since I was last in Turkey, and much too long, and I hope it won't be another 50 years before I come back. I came first as an undergraduate, and it was especially impressive to see the Sabancı University yesterday and to hear about its work. Very imaginative approaches to bringing different disciplines together and to really stimulate the curiosity and also the excellence amongst the students. I was really impressed. So we were set 3 questions. The first, how do you envision the future trends shaping global dynamics? Well, my 3 aren't very different than yours, so maybe that's quite reassuring that we're on the right track. Of course, climate change and the consequences of it, migration, the food and housing insecurity, the fights over resources. I think this is absolutely key to our future. The second one I highlighted was increasing inequalities. Increasing inequalities leads to reduced social cohesion and impaired mental and physical health. Whether it's inequalities within countries or inequalities between countries, you see exactly the same patterns. And we were very unequal societies before the pandemic came along. And unfortunately, for many reasons, the experiences of the pandemic made the inequalities even more acute. And this is something we absolutely need to address. And the third is actually looking at the broader political and economic situation in which our societies are trying to do the best that we can. And be curious and step back and say, are there alternative ways of living? Are there other ways of doing things? And I think that one of the dynamics is maybe people are seeing that the way that we organize our societies is not the most rational and is not the best for either population, physical and mental health, but also for cohesion and the future of this planet. So the second question, what are the specific risks facing us? Well, the climate and nature crises, the sustainability of our very ecosystems, food and water, so basic, and air, food, water and air. All of these are being compromised by the way we live our lives. Pandemic diseases, but my concern now is the lack of learning from what happened last time around, the lack of preparedness for the future, resilience in our societies, resilience in our physical infrastructure. I don't want to bring this news to those of you who are not aware of it, but we're facing a threat again in terms of pandemic, which with the H5N1 virus, which has been in birds for a long time, but very worryingly, it's now jumped into cattle and it's been found in wastewater. So these aren't abstract issues, they are really very real. And I want to raise a third risk that hasn't been raised so far, and that is antimicrobial resistance. We have been overusing antibiotics for so many years, both in terms of our health services, but also in terms of our agriculture with vets. And this is identified, certainly in the UK, as one of the big potential threats, both to the country, but also globally. I have a dear colleague who's probably 15 years younger than me, who's been in hospital for the last week. He's on his 5th antibiotic, trying to cure what is not a very complicated infection. So importantly, how can we deal with these risks? Well, I'm a behavioral scientist. I'm a psychologist and I'm a behavioral scientist. And if we think about climate change, if we think about any of these things, yes, medical and technological advance is incredibly important, but that's not enough. The estimate is that, for example, with climate change, trying to deal with it with, some people call it techno-optimism, technological changes of increasing carbon capture, say, will only deal with 60%. We need to reduce the demands of people on our resources, on our energy. This is the other 40% that's required. And so we need to enable behavior change at many levels, across populations, in communities and works and neighborhoods, and in all of us. We need to think about how we bring people together to collectively think about what is important, what are our values, how can we behave together in order to ensure that we do not destroy this beautiful, wonderful planet that we have. In terms of pandemics and dealing with that risk, we need to rebuild trust. Unfortunately, there was a lot of disinformation. Melissa talked about social media. We need to build trust in governments, in health authorities. We need to engage and educate populations. We also need to think about our physical environment, ensure that the infrastructure is correct. So very simply, that venues where people come together, such as this, are well ventilated, to make sure that there is soap when people clean their hands. You know, these very simple things need to be paid attention to. And with antimicrobial resistance, we need to change behaviour of farmers, healthcare professionals, the population. And underpinning all of this is evidence. We need to find the evidence that's out there using artificial intelligence and machine learning, integrate it and use it to predict scenarios. So we can move from what we do know to what we don't know, to what we don't, and really be able to harness these new technologies of machine learning, artificial intelligence that can be used very harmfully, but also can be used radically to make things better. And this means we need democratic control, we need transparency and accountability over these technologies. And finally, I want to just finish with the words of Sakıp Sabancı: curiosity and optimism. These are key ingredients for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, for those of you in the audience, we had a very long day yesterday on campus with our students, where we had 3 different panels with different groups of students all throughout the day, and it was wonderful. Some of them are already here, but we really enjoyed your presence on campus as well. Professor Pettit, now, you have famously rejected the existentialist vision of philosophy, well, according to some at least, where, you know, the opening the path for peoples to control their own destinies, their impact on mediative, methodological, and moral impact. And in your last book, which, you know, some of us discussed yesterday as well in depth, in the state published by Princeton University Press in 2023, you're looking into the state's role in bringing peace, justice, you know, one of these SDGs as well, within and beyond its borders. So when we think about your vision for the future of democracy and state as an idealized political entity, what do you see the risks, threats, and opportunities in that realm?
Thank you very much. And I'd also like to back up my fellow panelists and say how wonderful an honor it is to have received this award, and what a great pleasure it is to be here in Istanbul. Actually, my first visit to Istanbul was 55 years ago as a student, when I fell in love with the city. I'm from Ireland by background, and for the first time I saw completely blue skies. I just couldn't believe it, you know. And then, of course, you lower your sights with these wonderful buildings. I felt totally in love with the city, and I've been back many times, happily, since then. I have to talk about rather more sober topics in this address at the invitation of our wonderful dean, of your wonderful dean.
Thank you.
So let me say, I do think with the trends, there are very worrying trends from the point of view of democracy and the future of the state. And I do think that whatever we achieve in the way of human peace, prosperity, and so on, we're going to have to achieve through the cooperation of states. The state need not have come into existence, but it did, and it's not going to go out of existence in at least the foreseeable future. So here are the sort of 3 trends that strike me, and they're all worrying, I'm afraid. One is the trend, of course, with the shortage of resources and the search for water and soil and so on that Nick and Susan have referred to in various ways. It's the problem of you're going to get movements of population. You're going to have massive movements of population. Ecological, as you might describe them, are refugees, climate refugees. That's going to be a major problem, I fear, in the next 50 years. Second problem, also mentioned by Nick, I think, is the problem of the aging populations in many of our countries. In fact, on current projections, the world's population will begin to fall from about 2070. Now, I think this also represents a massive challenge, in particular in the societies where aging is more rapid, and they're mainly the richer societies, and that's going to mean the population movements are going to press those societies in particular. The third trend that worries me is what I think of as informational anarchy. And we have moved into an age where the social media, for example, are already present with us, where you really don't know what's news. You don't know where to go for news, I mean, for a lot of people. And there are so many voices. There's such an amplitude of news, so to speak, that no one knows where to go. And you look for the space where you feel at home, where you're hearing opinions you already hold by. So you create bubbles. That's a real problem. And that's going to become worse with the development, I'm afraid, and we're talking about dangers now of these trends, with the development of artificial intelligence, because that's going to make possible not just anonymous news as we have now, but also duplicitous news, where you get pretense that this is somebody speaking when it's not really they who is speaking. Okay, so what are the major immediate perils? I mean, that was the second issue, the immediate sort of dangers. Well, I do see two. One is that that in a time of immense change and uncertainty, there's a very strong, I think, inclination in all of us as human beings to rally behind someone who looks strong and who resonates and communicates certainty about the future. And that actually, I think, may press towards the development of autocratic type democracies, and indeed autocratic states more generally, where the strong man, if I may be masculinist about it, because it usually has been the strong man, is a figure that commands a sort of following, but that creates a state in which that figure becomes the center of government and claims really to rule often in the name of the people, but where the people can't speak except through his voice. The other problem that I worry about is that in the countries that we do recognize as clearly democratic, which are not ruled from a single center, but are multi-channeled, and good democracies always have many channels, not the electoral channel alone, but the contestatory channel, the channel of the courts that keep tabs on exactly what's happening. This is all ways in which the people control what government does and insist on government acting more or less on its terms. Second immediate problem I see is that we're sort of losing faith in that multi-channel democracy. I think that there's a development, for example, in many countries whereby I think that this focus group leadership, the leaders of the countries, they want to know through focus groups, so-called, what everybody is thinking, and then that's what they say as their ideal, rather than leading from in front, in an inspiring way and trying to bring people with them. I'm running out of time, so turning to the opportunities aspect, I mean, there is one development which I think consoles me when I think about the development of a world where you get autocratic states and then these more traditional democracies, but where they are, so to speak, losing momentum. The one sort of reassuring thing, actually, and this comes strange from a philosopher, really, is that international finance and business can actually be a corrective, because business and globalization has raised many problems. It might well have appeared as a trend as well, but business will tend to go where there is stability and where there's predictability, and I think that is actually more assured in in your traditional democracy if we can get our traditional democracies really re-energized and rethinking exactly what they're about. I think they can do this, and actually one way in which this can happen is if these democracies, where in general you have the aging problem, actually welcome refugees. The problem of population movement can actually be balanced in a way with the need for immigration into many of the leading democracies. But of course, that can only be possible in an organized way with democracies cooperating, for example, in taking refugees and also in providing for those who enter their borders and become members of their society, providing for their reskilling and introduction to the society. That involves a major investment, I would say, but it is a great hope. But can I say just one thing finally? I think not only do we need institutional adjustments of that kind, and that would include, of course, the regulation of information, and we don't know how really to do that as yet. How do we control the social media? How do we get some sort of order in the information available to citizens? But I'd just say, finally, we need to rethink some ideas, and this is maybe striking the philosophical chord. I do think we really need to think about democracy and what we mean by democracy. And there is a real fallacy abroad, as I see it, of thinking of democracy as just the will of the people, usually represented in whoever we elect, the person of the party, and then speaking, taking over. But that's not my view of democracy, and I don't think it's the traditional view of democracy. Democracy should be multi-centered and multi-channeled, operating through many ways at the courts, who also represent the people, at the central bank, that also in its ways represent the people importantly, and with the electoral commissioners who represent the people. They are functionaries who really speak for us, the people, in determining that government operates on its terms. The other reconceptualization we need is rethinking free speech. I think that the massive expansion of social media, and America has been the model here, followed happily not fully, but followed to a good extent in many of the Western countries. Free speech is made to mean it's the more speech you have, the better. The larger, so to speak, the waterfall of words, the better. Now, that's just silly. We need to rethink free speech as free converse, free exchange, where you get talk back between people rather than just a massive echoing of noise along the multi-social media channels. Better stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll have one round of questions, if you can bear with us very quickly. So to turn back to the panel again, with everything that you said, there are all these different linkages between economics, well-being, psychology, future of democracy. So what do you think, if you can just, pick your brains actually in that matter, what do you think the role of universities are? Because we are, after all, here as a university. Can we use everything we have uncovered so far to make, humanity wiser, more intelligent, more capable, improve the human condition, make lives better for all of us, and through which instruments and tools? Let's start with you, Lord Stern.
I think clarity on concepts, creativity on policies and actions. When I say clarity on concepts, including around values, and the understanding how to use data and how to ask questions of the data. So those are the kinds of things that university can do. And let me just give one example around sustainability. Clarity of concept here should, I think, concern the meaning of the word. The meaning of the word is to offer future generations opportunities at least as good as those you had. That statement is derived from the liberties of the future generations, the rights of the future generations, and we have a duty, I think, not to infringe those. That's the idea of sustainability. What determines the opportunities they have, the physical capital that we create, the human capital in terms of education and health that we offer, universities central here, and the natural capital that we offer. And more broadly, you can talk about the social capital in terms that they have a much better future if we offer them a socially cohesive and well-functioning, cheerful, rights-driven liberty in their lives. So those are the kinds of ways I think universities can and should drive these issues forward. I just give one example on sustainability. AI is obviously extremely important. I can't go into that in any detail. But also, I think, around the relationships between countries. And climate change is par excellence an area where the relationships between countries are of fundamental importance. It's the dirty growth of the rich countries, which in large measure has deprived and damaged the opportunities for development in poorer countries. Inaction on climate change now is deeply inequitable. I mean, the poorest people are hit earliest and hardest, and they did the least in creating the problem. So I think our universities can be clear and strong on how these things came about, but not stop there. Link those with values and link those with actions. And the rich countries now have a very strong obligation, particularly on the finance side, to bring the low-cost capital that's necessary to the developing world in a way that is affordable and available in the quantities that are necessary. I won't bore you with the consequences. We've written on that. And that, I think, is most effectively done through the multilateral financial institutions. And that can be pumped up very quickly and should be in order for those flows of capital to arise and in order to work with the private sector, because most of the investment will be private sector, to manage and share the risk.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Mickey?
Very interesting question. I think there are three things that universities are absolutely key for: knowledge, skills, and values. And I think we've all mentioned in different ways this issue about trusted sources. Who do people go to? Who do people trust to find out about things, to find out about how they should behave, to find out about what goals would be good ones to strive for? And all the evidence shows that despite all the misinformation and disinformation that there has been, scientists and academics are still one of the most trusted groups in society. And my apologies to any politicians in the room today. They are much more trusted than politicians. And so, universities are producing leaders of the future who can be trusted and can lead in all the ways that are required to address the kind of problems we've been talking about and the fallout in terms of lack of cohesion, in terms of conflict. These are things that really need to be addressed. So knowledge, yes, but knowledge of a particular type. Knowledge that can bring together different perspectives from different disciplines, that can integrate it, can see the joined-upness of different, from engineering to sociology. One of my big projects has been a very close collaboration between behavioural and computer scientists. This is the sort of knowledge that is required. And then skills. Skills to be able to critically evaluate evidence. What is good evidence? What isn't such good evidence? How can we generalize from evidence that's been collected in one situation to problems in another situation? Another thing that universities can do is to really promote values of respecting people, of looking after people, and of bringing the best out of people, to really look and see where is the potential, how can it be channeled and supported, and also which directions people are going to be most fruitful for people. And one of the human values that's incredibly important, and I've felt so privileged at being an academic, is the sort of mutual support and solidarity between people. I think this is a key ingredient for our future. And I think academics can do it very well. They can collaborate. One of the things we saw through the pandemic, terrible toll on mental health and many other issues. But one of the things we did see was people coming together and helping each other. And this is the goodness in people. I feel that people are intrinsically good. Academics, I think, can really bring that out. And the final thing I want to say about what I think universities can do extremely well, and Sabancı University does it very, very well, is to help in terms of translating that multidisciplinary academic expertise to the outside world, to planners, to practitioners, to politicians, to the population, to everybody who could use that to benefit the world in different places.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And we are glad we're able to see the university in this short period of time. Okay. Professor Pepit.
Let me begin by giving a tribute to Sabancı University, which I was very impressed by what I learned yesterday on my visit to the university. I think of universities in the first place for young people, they're 17, 18, 19, coming for the first time to meet people from very different backgrounds often and to thrash out ideas. And I think the first sort of lesson for most kids in a good university is just the opening of minds, that you can, suddenly you learn the curiosities, you learn the different points of view, you affiliate with people you'd never have affiliated with before, and it just suddenly opens up. Now, what I like about Sabancı plan is the 2 years foundation, which is multidisciplinary and it involves various aspects of intellectual life, before people go on to specialize and get skilled, if you like. Universities aren't just about skilling people. They're about, first of all, opening the minds up and establishing sort of a capacity to think for themselves. And then, with that sort of mind that's already been matured and expanded under those influences, skilling, learning the skills, becoming ready to take a part in larger society and so on. If I could just illustrate that, and I must say I agree with, I think, both very strongly with both of my panelists have mentioned curiosity. I think that's really the great intellectual virtue, is just be curious. And obviously Sakıp Sabancı really represented that, as Melissa said in her delivery. I think curiosity is just everything. But just to give an example of how important it is that younger people going to university learn to rethink things and open up their minds, let me take those two themes I mentioned all too hurriedly at the end of my own 7 minutes that turned into 7.5 minutes, I think. I do apologize for that. The notion of, say, democracy or the notion of free speech. There are many ideas that we just pick up in ordinary life, like the word democracy. We've all learnt and we've all been told what it is. And if you say to someone, well, what is democracy? It's sort of always interesting. People say, yes, what is democracy? And you think about it. Of course, everyone says, well, it's elections. It's about elections. But then you realize, well, wait a moment. Putin has been elected. Now imagine that the poll or the electoral system in Russia was actually reliable, which I'm told it's not. But even if it were reliable, Putin, in all likelihood, would get elected. But that doesn't make Russia, as it is at the moment, the Confederation, does not make it a democracy. You need a lot more than just elections, even fair, periodic, and open elections for a democracy. You also need a system where, for example, the courts are certainly independent, and they're going to keep tabs on those in executive or legislative office, and you can challenge them. You need a system where people can protest and sometimes make a nuisance of themselves, as in students in universities at the moment in the United States. That's the price you pay, but it's the price you pay for a really important good, which is that people feel we can push back. We're not just the subjects of a government. We are those who make government and can reform government and press it in different directions. And finally, I mentioned just free speech. I mean, the idea of free speech was introduced basically in the 18th century, when the problem was the big voice of the demagogue. And the idea was if you make free speech, then other people can speak back. So it gets over the problem of despotism, having free speech. But there's always the problem of anarchy in society as well. And what we now have is informational anarchy. And we have not thought about exactly what free exchange would mean, where it's not just that you get buffeted with these channels and social media, but that you can talk back. I better stop there, but that illustrates the sort of what I think of as opening up young minds to think about these things, rather than just going along with accepted ideas unexamined. The unexamined life is not worth living, as Socrates said some thousands of years ago.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, on that note, I'll be concluding our panel. We have a small photo session. So thank you for all your wonderful contributions. It was wonderful having you on campus, and we'll continue the discussion outside the reception.
Panelistlerimize ve tüm katılımcılarımıza tekrar
We would once again like to thank our participants, our panelists, and now is the time for the presentation of special plates, tokens of appreciation to our panelists. Thank you. Professor Boch is going to present us.
Panelistlerimiz ve Meltem hocamıza
We would once again like to thank our panelists and Professor Meltem Boch. And now we proceed with the family photo. We would kindly invite Miss Güler Sabancı, as well as Miss Dilek Sabancı, Miss Sevil Sabancı, Miss Melisa Sabancı Tapan, our President of the University, Mr. Yusuf Leblebici, and Vice President, Mr. Fuat Geyman.
Sayın İstanbul Valimiz Davut Gül'ü ve Sayın İstanbul Belediye Başkanımız Ekrem İmamoğlu'nu sahneye davet ediyorum efendim.
Thank you very much. We would like to kindly invite you to proceed back to your seats, distinguished guests. Thus, we come to the end of our commemoration ceremony for the 20th anniversary of Mr. Sakıp Sabancı's passing. We would once again like to thank you for your participation and would like to commemorate late Sakıp Sabancı with love and respect.